Hello, we're the News Bus.
And for our first segment, we've compiled 4 very recent and interesting stories. I'm Nikita, and
I'm Anna L, so let's get started.
um, our first story is about 7 people who have died from unusual blood clots after getting the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine in the UK. The medicines regulator has confirmed to BBC. In total, 30 people out of 18 million vaccinated by 24 March had these clots. It's still not clear if they're just a coincidence or a genuine side effect of the vaccine. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, also known as the PRA, says that the benefits continue to outweigh any risk. The WHO and the European Medicines Agency have echoed this conclusion. Concern has led to other countries, including Germany, France, Netherlands, Canada, to restrict the vaccine's use to only elder people. The data released by the MHRA on Friday showed 22 cases of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis, also known as CVST, which is basically just a type of blood clot in the brain. This was accompanied by low levels of platelets, which help form blood clots in the body. The MHRA also found other clotting problems alongside low platelet levels in 8 people. Dr. June Rain, who is the chief executive of the MHRA, said that the benefits in preventing COVID 19 infection and its complications continue to outweigh any risks, and the public should continue to get their vaccine when invited to do so. Investigations are underway to determine if the AstraZeneca vaccine is causing the very rare blood clots. Earlier this week, the European Medicines Agency said that it was not proven, but it is possible. 2 reasons are raising the suspicions. The first is the unusual care of clots, which, including low levels of platelets and rare antibodies in the blood, have been linked to other clotting disorders. This raises the possibility that the vaccine could actually be a causal factor in these rare and unusual cases of CVSD, though we don't know this yet. So obviously, more research is urgently needed. The other issue is that the difference between the Oxford AstraZeneca and the Pfizer BioNTech vaccines. There's been 2 cases there's been 2 cases of CVSTs after Pfizer in the UK out of more than 10 million vaccinated, but they didn't have any low platelet levels. So what's the difference? However, there remains uncertainty around how common these clots normally are. Estimates range from 2 cases per million people every year to nearly 16 in every million in normal times, and the coronavirus has been linked to abnormal clotting, which may be making these clots more common. Germany has reported 31 CVSTs. Again, it's a blood clot, it's a brain clot, and 9 deaths out of the 2.7 million people vaccinated there, with most cases in younger middle aged women. Similar data on who has been affected in the UK has not been published yet, but a wider mix of people are thought to have been affected. All medicines from vaccines to paracetamol have the potential to cause severe side effects. So the real question is, are these risks worth the benefits of the vaccine? Even if the vaccine was the cause, and it's not proven yet, the number suggests around 1 death in every 2 million people vaccinated. However, this has to be weighed against the known threat posed by the coronavirus. This balance of risk and benefit will continue to be assessed as more safety data comes in and as the vaccine program moves into younger people who are at a lower risk from dying from the COVID 19. So, Anna, what are your thoughts on this?
Really and truly, I think that this vaccine has a lot of potential because we need a vaccine. We need something reliable, and we need something that we need something fast because the coronavirus is getting out of control and it's just a big mess right now. And the one thing I'm not really sure is I'm very iffy about with this vaccine is that I've heard that the AstraZeneca vaccine skipped the last stage of human trials, which to me just isn't safe at all. No matter what kind of rush you're in, it's not an excuse to skip the last stage of the human trials, because when you think about it, this could have been so much worse. It could have been not just 31 or so people getting these blood clots. It could have been so many more. And I just think that they need to go back and rethink their decisions and go back to that last stage of human trials and just redo them and just try to come up with a better vaccine. Because while the one they've come up with now it's completely valid, it's a very good vaccine considering the death count is still quite low, but it's still present, you know?
Exactly. I think what they should do is, instead of like, skipping that last trial that you said, they should go back, do those trials, and also do some extra trials with like elderly people. Because the blood clots, they're more common in those elderly people, like from like the age of 40 and above or like 50 and above. They're more common in those people. So what went wrong? Like, they should check that and also maybe compare it with the Pfizer vaccine, because in the Pfizer vaccine, there have been two cases as well, but their blood platelets were not high. So what's the
Yeah.
difference between those two vaccines exactly? And how can they make it better? So I think that's what they should consider, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the main concern. How can what can they work towards to
Mm-hmm.
put out something better for the general public? I think that's the main concern. But I mean, we can't deny the fact that they've done incredible work and that they've set out an incredible base vaccine so far. You
Exactly.
can't put
Yeah.
that against, but
So
they
you want to go
definitely need
ahead
to
with
go.
yours?
I would love to. Okay. So my story is actually quite sad because we're going to be talking about France's recent ban on the hijab. So the French Senate has officially banned women under the age of 18 from wearing the hijab. This took place less than a month after voters in Switzerland supported a ban on the burqa and the niqab. France has chosen to be more severe on the outlook of wearing the clothing item, which was to completely outlaw it for women under the age of 18 in public spaces. This took place on March 30th, where the Senate voted in favor of the prohibition in public spaces of any conspicuous religious sign by minors and of any dress or clothing which would signify an inauthorization of women over men. Alongside this, hijabi mothers would no longer be allowed to accompany school field trips, and burkinis would be banned from public swimming pools. These laws, however, are still not in effect and would first need to be confirmed by the National Assembly as part of the separatism bill. Throughout history, France has thrived to uphold ideals of secularism, of separation of state and religion, often arguing that religious symbols like veils are in opposition to European principles of enlightenment and individualism. The current French president, Emmanuel Macron, has openly expressed that the hijab is not in accordance with French ideals, but has also said that he does not wish to make a law which prohibits it in the streets. French lawyer and National Assembly member Sacha Houlié warned that this ban would be counterproductive and could cause some Muslims to further withdraw from society. Should the latest ruling get passed on into the law, the age of consensual sexual intercourse, previously set at 15, is likely to be lowered for the hijab. Muslim women who cover their hair in respect to their religion generally start this around the time they begin in puberty, which is far younger than 18. Um, the passing of this rule would not only affect the 4.4 million Muslims currently living in France, but would also affect those who wish to travel there during their holidays. Many have turned to social media to stand against this decision, claiming that this is an act of Islamophobia. Amani al-Katabeh, founder and activist of Muslim Women's Day, came out in support to her French sisters, condemning the religion's Islamophobia. She openly stated, "My French sisters know that we see you, stand with you, and fight with you against the globalized Islamophobia that brought us here." Another stand to this law was taken by Olympic fencer Itaj, Itihaj Muhammad, where he wrote, "This is what happens when you normalize anti-Islamic and anti-Muslim hate speech, bias, discrimination, and hate crimes. Islamophobia written into law. May Allah protect our sisters." Acts similar to this date back even to 2009, when French President Nicolas Sarkozy stated in June of 2009 that religious face veils were not welcome in France. He stated that the law is to protect individuals from being forced to cover their faces and to uphold France's secular values. The law was later introduced in 2010. But even earlier than that, face veils were banned in school as of 2004. In May 2019, the country chose to enforce the wearing of face masks in order to protect from COVID-19. However, those who were caught wearing a niqab, which is a face covering that covers approximately the same area as the face mask but is deemed religion, were completely open to being fined. Now, what do you think about this law, Nikita?
I feel like, France has been known as a society that's supposedly free and allows women to, wear and do what they want. But this like society is now banning the hijab. Like it's really hypocritic, to be honest. Like, you know, it's done, I think like it's mainly done two things in France. And it's number one, what you talked about is Islamophobia, obviously. And like the second is the extreme rights needed to regulate women's bodies and what they can and cannot wear. And then they justify it all with they like justify with saying that they're saving oppressed women. But they're really not, because no one forces these people to wear the hijab. It's more like a choice, right? Like it's Muslim girls, like, they can choose not to wear it, especially coming into this new age and day. Like, they can choose to not wear it. Like, it's really up to them. Like, if they're not being forced into it. So, like, removing the hijab, making a law that regulates them and like that makes them like forces them to not wear one, even for people who really believe in wearing one and want to wear one. It's just really hypocritic, to be honest. So I think they should take into consideration like the people's feelings towards it, and maybe like reconsider and change the law, obviously. So
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you because as a French person myself, it's very disappointing to see that my country has come to this. It's no longer about freedom. It's about now they're just oppressing Muslims. They're trying to change their beliefs. It's sad. It's sad to see.
exactly, yeah.
I think coming into this day and age, as you said, it's we need to start pushing forwards the freedom of wearing what you want, following the religion that you want, loving who you want, and I think that all this needs to be pushed forwards by the law as well. You can't. I don't think it was. I really don't think it was the right decision, and you can see it by how many youths have taken to social media to stand against this rule, and
And
it's
it's not
it's
just
inspiring.
Muslims who are taking to social media, it's everyone. Like, I know people like even who are not Muslim supporting this cause, like me. I'm not Muslim, but I'm definitely like supporting this cause, and like, they should definitely reconsider their choice that they took and the path they took. Like, they should have probably thought over this. They're just saying it that, they want to free oppressed women, but they're kind of doing the opposite. You're oppressing them even more. So I think they
Yeah.
should really reconsider what they've done.
But it's inspiring to see how many people are standing up to their rule to stand together against Islamophobia. That in itself is it's a beautiful thing. Would you like to go ahead with your third story? Well, with our
Sure.
third story and your
So, sorry.
no, I said, would you like to go ahead with your second story, but our third story?
Third story. So, for the third story, it's something a little light but also heavy. So, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have recorded an interview with the famous American talk show host Oprah Winfrey. I'm sure you all know her, describing their relationship with the royal family. In the interview with Oprah, the Duchess has made a serious claim about life in the royal family. She said that the place has perpetuated falsehoods about the couple. Last year, the couple decided to step down from royal duties, something that was finalized by the Queen in Feb. Harry and Meghan, who now live in America, have previously spoken about the pressures they face as royals and the impact it had on their mental health. The Duchess of Sussex has said that she found life within the British royal family really difficult, and at times she didn't want to be alive anymore. In a TV interview, Meghan was at a low point, and when Harry was asked by an unnamed family member how dark Archie's skin might be, Archie is their son, and so they were asked how dark their son's skin might be. And Prince Harry also revealed that his father, Prince Charles, stopped taking his calls when he wanted to step back. Another clip from the interview with Oprah, the Duke of Sussex compared the treatment of his mother Diana, Princess of Wales, and Meghan. Princess Diana also spoke about how hard it was to join the royal family. She was often written about in newspapers and stories about her made headlines around the world. In 1997, when in Paris, Princess Diana died when the car she was traveling in crashed after being chased by photographers known as the paparazzi. Prince Harry was 12 at the time. Prince Harry said that he'd seen history repeating itself and that he lost his mother, and how he watches his wife falling victim to the same powerful forces. Some of the negative stories reported in newspapers about Meghan have also been accused of showing racist feelings towards her. But now it's not just the British press that Harry and Meghan are criticizing, but the royal family has had in protecting them. Yeah, so that was short, but what I know, like what I understand from this is that, Prince Harry he's just going through it the second time now, once with his mother and now with his wife. And, he's so scared of losing her the same way he lost his mother and to the same cause. And like, like, I feel like the royals have, made this image of them being very nice and, this really like amazing family where like, all these rules are followed and everything, and they want to make themselves a staple family, right? But I feel like all these rules have just led to those poor like people like those royals to go into like depression and like being chased by paparazzi when they try to do something new, or when they try to get some a little bit of freedom, or when they try to speak out. So like I feel like they should, maybe like let like people like royal families even speak out, because they're really like they really looked up to a lot. And I feel like if they spoke out to causes, or like any like the any movements like the Black Lives Matter movement or anything like that, it would create such a big impact on the population and the people itself. But following these rules just makes them like a stereotype, and following all these stereotypes that it actually just keeps the country where they are, and there's no progress. So yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going, but um, they're so trapped by these traditions that honestly, it must be incredibly hard to go through what they have been through. However, I'm fully supporting their decision to leave and just to support themselves and to take care of themselves, down to where they see that their mental health is more important than the abuse that they've suffered. And it's quite it's lovely to see them take care of themselves the way that they have,
And
and
support
the
each
fact that
other.
the fact that they both worked so hard to support each other in such a difficult time. It's beautiful to see, really.
Mhm.
They've made some serious claims like about racism, all that going on within the royal family.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that they've chose to leave the royal family like the way they have, I think this will go down in history, similar to how Princess Diana has gone down in history for breaking so many of these traditions that she was bound to. I think that there's them leaving the royal family will inspire quite a few people.
Yeah. Well, would you like to go on with our last story for this segment?
Our last story. Geez, this went by fast. All right, so our last story will be following the um, heart heart wrenching executions happening in Ethiopia's Tigray. So, following a CNN investigation, US Senator Chris Coons has called the reports and footage of executions in Ethiopia's war-torn region of Tigray deeply disturbing. The senator from Delaware tweeted on Saturday, April 3rd, new reports and footage emerging from Tigray of extrajudicial killings, murders of civilians, sexual and gender-based violence, and forced displacement are deeply disturbing. Pardon. The CNN investigation found that armed men wearing Ethiopian army uniforms executed unarmed men in Tigray, the northernmost region of Ethiopia. An investigation led by BBC also came to the same conclusion, with the massacre occurring near Maheber Dego, a mountainous area of central Tigray. The US senator openly stated that it was important for the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, or EHRC, an Ethiopian state appointed body, and the United Nations Right Office to, and I quote, have the necessary access and support required to carry out a thorough, independent, and a transparent investigation into war crimes and abuses by all its actors. A US Department spokesperson told CNN, which is a popular multinational news-based pay television headquartered in Atlanta, on Friday that officials are gravely concerned by reported human rights violations, abuses, and atrocities in the region, and noted increasing urgency to establish independent international investigations. Head of the US House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Gregory Meeks, has asked for the investigations to be internationally led. The Ethiopian government retaliated to CNN and BBC's findings on Friday, 2nd of April, by saying that social media posts and claims cannot be taken in as evidence. The Office of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, has told the CNN in a statement that the Ethiopian government has indicated it's open for independent investigations to be undertaken in the Tigray region. I have to apologize for this cat. She just came in the middle. Nikita, you're muted.
Sorry. So I think the most important thing is, why did they massacre these people? Like, or why did they,
Why did they choose to execute?
yeah, like, what's the reason behind this? Like, I think that's the most important thing to address over here. And obviously, like, we should think about like the path we take before. So execution is not always the only choice, right? Even if the people did something wrong, even if they went against the law or anything, whatever the reason behind it is, like if it's against the law, then I mean it's not the only choice. There are more options, like non-war options that are more ethical and better choices to make. And the fact that I think that they're like denying the accusations made, with even though there's solid evidence, is extremely guilty and extremely ironic in a way, because it's kind of funny to see how there's so many, well, not funny, but it's kind of like interesting to see how there's like so much evidence, like media evidence, but they're still denying it. So like, what are they thinking? That's really what I'm curious about.
And like you mentioned, there are so many steps to take before execution. And even if we see it as the unarmed men were perhaps, let's say that they've committed a crime, let's say they've committed a serious crime, I think that there are things we can make them do that would make them more useful to the general human population. Let's say we could easily ask them to help build homes. We could easily put them to the use of the public, where they would help with just community service and just overall, excuse me, and would just overall be a benefit to the human society, rather than just, I'm so sorry, rather than just going straight for the murder option, where they would just go ahead and execute them. I think that primarily we need to find out the reason of the executions before we jump to any conclusions and statements.
Exactly, yeah. Like, there's just one thing that I heard about, like, even like making jails for people, like, and making all those like like those like people who are like locked in, do all this work and everything and be really strict. Instead of doing all that, what is a jail supposed to be about? It's supposed to be about reflection and about like those like, prisoners. And so, I heard this one jail, I think in Sweden, like they have really good jails, and they let people walk in. Like what they do is that there's this one thing, it's like it's known, they have like mirrors everywhere, so each person can be seen from someone, like some place, so everyone can be seen by someone at least. So what they do is they start looking at their own actions and paying attention to what they're doing, and they get so used to it that they don't do it anymore. So even if these people, like they break the law really badly, and instead of putting them into like instead of like executing them or putting them into like really bad strict jails and all go through all these strict things, like why not like create better, like better solutions, more peaceful solutions and ethical, that are more ethical to resolve these problems. Like, yeah, I think they
Yeah,
should.
it's like, yeah, I've also seen that like jails are not only just used for reflections, they are mainly used for reflections. They're also used to help rehabilitate these criminals to re-enter society as better men and women. And I think that by locking people up in a tight space where everyone's just this little ball of anger, that never does anything good. It doesn't rehabilitate anyone. It just makes them more angry. And I think that people need to work harder to treat them like the human beings that they are. because if we just treat them like animals, then they're never gonna want to be better. They're never gonna want to be better people. So I
Exactly.
think that first of all, we need to start treating humans as humans, no matter how criminal they are. And well, depending on the crime, really. But I think that we should treat humans as humans, no matter who they are.
Even if they've committed some really big crime, executing someone is not a joke. Like it's not something that's to be done like easily, you know. It's something that has to be taken into like really a lot of consideration. Maybe like why do you have to execute someone? Why can't you just lock them up for life, like lifetime jail? That's fine as well. Like if it's really bad, just do
I think
lifetime jail, like to be
I,
honest, like, instead of executing someone, because it is still a life, right?
yes, but the reason I think that they don't go for lifetime jail is that it's a lot. If they had to leave everybody alive, is that it's a lot of taxpayer dollars that go into keeping them alive. Because I mean, remember we have to feed them as well. We can't
But
just let
there are
them
not
rot
that
in the
many
ground.
criminals that are that bad, right? So
It's true, but we still need to think that.
I guess the countries have to, really think about their steps when they're doing this, and like really for execution, for to take someone's life, I think it should be really like something that everyone agrees over and something that, is
It should go a strict evaluation.
yeah, exactly, like a really strict criteria that these, criminals should go through to be like to get to the point of execution. So, yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was a heavy topic.
It was. It's quite something to finish on.
Yeah.
But this is everything we have.
Anyways, thank you guys. Stay safe. We're gonna meet. Let's hope we get through COVID together and stay updated with us. Yeah, we'll wait for our next.
Be excited. Be excited for our
Okay,
next segment.
bye.